New York and on the new Hot 97 app. Ebro in the morning on Hot 97.
Yo, it's Ebro in the morning. Beautiful Laura Styles. Rosenberg is on an ill assignment that I'm sure we'll talk about on the morning show one day.
Yes,
one day. Right now, though, Omar Epps is here.
What's good? What's good?
Now, you're here to promote your new book, which is about fatherhood.
Yes.
And I want to get into that because I'm very passionate about parenting, and I'm so happy to be part of a generation of black men who are not only being great fathers to whatever capabilities they are, but also those of us that have the ability to talk about it in the public and fatherhood to set that tone, because you know, for many it feels like generations, you know, the whole deadbeat dad and the black man being the face of that, even though I don't know what your relationship was like with your dad, and even
that's why I wrote the book.
Right, and that's why you didn't know him at all. And then in your situation where your father was a part of your life, but there was some issues there. My dad was in and out of my life due to jail, so as all of us being black and brown folks, I'm glad to be a part of that generation. But before we get to that, you're very passionate about hip hop.
Yes.
And we were talking before this segment. You are excited about the Drake album dropping tonight. Should I say excited?
Yeah.
Anticipating?
Anticipating.
Why?
I mean, he's a dope artist. You know what I mean? And we're gonna see, you know, situation. If apparently he's gonna leave that alone. So let's just look for the music.
Do you really think he's gonna leave it alone?
I don't know.
I
don't know.
You don't think you say Drake says nothing subliminal about Pusha T?
I don't know. I think he might drop a sub at Ye maybe, but who
so
knows?
You think the odds are higher that Drake goes at Kanye?
Yeah, because on the Duppy, that's who he really was going at.
Yeah, Kanye caught it the worst on the Duppy freestyle.
Yeah, but Ye is kind of in a space where it don't really matter.
As someone like yourself who is you know, an actor and somebody who, I mean, your career blossomed because of, you know, playing a DJ in one of the great hip hop films. You know, you know, I didn't know that you were that passionate still about rap for you to, you know, really.
How could I not be?
Well, I you know, some people you move on to other things.
It's in the blood, bro.
We've had people come up here and be a little disconnected.
Nah, if you think about, it's just so beautiful to see what we all doing. It's so beautiful to see what hip hop has created for us. It's created so many opportunities, so many jobs, like real, you know what I mean? And that's incredible. That's always gonna be us, and that's what I come from. So it's always gonna be me.
So it just dawned on me while you was talking too. I think maybe you've been waiting for Kanye this whole time.
What you mean?
Well, because he says "in too deep" like Mekhi Phife, and he got the name wrong. So maybe you've been waiting for Kanye West this whole time.
Nah, he got out. Hey,
I mean, if you have, it's cool. We understand.
That must have been a good night in the studio. Let's put it that way. He was feeling good that night.
Was you tight when you heard that?
Nah, I wasn't tight at all. Kai's my bro. It's all in love.
It's love.
You know, I'm just surprised nobody was like, "Yo, that wasn't him." That was like, how you let him put that out? That's his squad. That was not a good look for the squad.
Evidence suggests there's not a lot of people telling him don't put that out.
Well, there's a lot of people not telling Kanye don't say a lot of shit. Clearly,
that's true. That's true.
Clearly, that's why we at, you know, where we are with Kanye West right now.
Yeah, it's a bizarre place, but you know, I like how there was this swell of, you know, people were not feeling it, but I like how the culture is sort of like, he's still us, so we can make mistakes, but you don't have to drop him. You know what I mean? Because nobody's perfect. Right. You know, man. Obviously, he's dealing with a lot of things, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. He's at a space where he's evolving. He's trying to figure some things out.
He's a dad.
He's a dad.
He's a husband.
Yeah.
He lost his own mom.
Yeah.
Living in a world where his identity, you know, he's being challenged to.
He's in that bubble.
Yeah, in that bubble, and trying to figure out his identity in that bubble while conflicted with, you know, coming from beginnings. You know, that's, you know, our communities still have great challenges, and figuring out how to unpack that and address and cope and help and diagnose. You know what I mean? We all deal with that conversation, right? Where you're like, what we need to be doing is XYZ, and then a few months, weeks later, nah, you know what we really need is tough.
Everything ain't meant for public consumption, and when you speaking on sensitive issues like that, it's like you keep certain things private because the people have the right to have their opinion, and you speaking on things that you live in that bubble. These things are affecting people in the real world.
Hello.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, yo, maybe stay away from that. Have those conversations over here. Figure that out so that when you deliver whatever you're trying to say, it comes out the right way. It's in the right context. Like,
and that's been what you're talking about is what a lot of people were dealing with Kanye, which was being insensitive to the pain, not being in touch with the pain of the things that you're playing with.
Right.
And what you're talking about is actually being aware of how sensitive things are.
Exactly.
And knowing that everything is not for everybody.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think that his intent was to be insensitive, because sometimes when you out of touch, that doesn't mean you're actually insensitive. Because being insensitive is you're aware and you just don't care.
Complete disregard.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So I think he's just kind of out of touch of the domino effect of this statement, that statement, or a thing in a tweet. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, bro, that's not, you in that bubble, and that's cool because people get to them spaces, but you got to handle that in a certain way. I just like how the culture discussed it and continues to discuss it, because people still got love for him, and I respect that.
Where you're at in your trajectory as an actor right now, you have, is it one or two things on? You're in Shooter right
on
now.
USA Network.
On USA.
That's
I thought you had
3.
another thing that was on.
Oh, Traffic, the movie Traffic.
Traffic,
was
yeah.
out. Yeah.
Talk about that life as a professional actor right now with all of the different opportunities available as far as content creation, because it feels like the Netflix and the Amazon and the Apple and then you got the cable and then you got network and then you have, who did I leave out? Facebook,
And then you got YouTube.
I mean,
yeah.
does it feel like more opportunity, less? What does it feel like as a professional and a black man doing it?
That's interesting. It feels like split down the middle. It feels like sometimes there's more and sometimes there's less, because it's less opportunities, in my opinion, to build a career. You can have a moment, but to build a career that's sustainable, those opportunities to me seem to be few. Moments everybody can have a moment, because anybody could get on the web and blah 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 blah. But it's just it's the grind. It's the grind. I'm sure it's like in what y'all do, or it's like in the music. It's still a grind. It seemed like if you look at the music business, it seems like a gazillion more opportunities, but are they really? Because how do you rise above all that noise? You know what I mean? Whereas before, the process of who gets to come out was curated. You know what I mean? And so in my business, I'm just fortunate, that I got the tenure that I have, and trying to evolve and getting into this writing and producing. That's this next phase. I'm gonna act forever, but this is where I'm at with it.
Are you working on anything specifically right now? As far as like writing and producing?
Yeah. I got a joint I wrote for Tip, feature that we trying to put together. So knock on wood, that'll happen. Trying to do that indie.
And that's T.I. Tip.
Yeah. That's the homie.
And you're from, where you from?
I'm from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Yeah. And you live in New York now, or?
No, I'm in LA now. Mostly.
Okay. I was told yesterday that Atlanta, like literally all the Marvels get shot in, like there's so much movie work happening and TV and movie work happening in Atlanta.
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Because
Like,
of
I
the
heard
studios, right? Because of the space also, and it's cheaper.
Well, that's the biggest thing. It's because of the tax break is so crazy, and also the landscape is interesting because it's rural, but it's urban. And so it can play for a lot of places. And then now you just got so many crews and people behind the scenes that have relocated. So you go down
because the life is good, schools, property, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and they, for the studios, they get, it's like a 28 something. It's a crazy tax break that they get. That and also, you can get there. It's not like you got to go to Vancouver or some other places. It's harder to get to. So
and that's like an airport, the huge airport hub, the international airport hub. Wow.
They killing it down there.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's the other Hollywood.
Yeah. So this new book that you have,
yes,
From Fatherless
to Fatherhood.
Is this your first book?
Absolutely.
And what made you want to go this route and become an author?
All right. So I had a moment with my son a few years back. I worked a 14, 15-hour day. I'm sure as a man you can relate to it. You know what I mean? Worked a long day, came home. I just wanted to have a drink, go to sleep. Wifey was like, yo, he's up, play with him. I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it. And I was kind of aggy. And in my mind, I had a thought, like, at least I'm here. And, of course, I love my son to pieces, but I sat there in that moment like, where'd that come from? And it kept echoing in my mind, and I had this thought like, wow, has growing up without a father somehow crept into my fatherhood. And I went on this exploration of self. I wanted to unpack that thought, right? And it just started coming out in the form of me writing this book. And in the midst of writing it, you know, it struck me like, oh wow, maybe, you know, my story is bigger than me. It could be used as a tool to inspire and potentially even, you know, help guide some men, you know, because my objective with it now is to push it as a tool of inspiration, but to change the narrative. You know, I want to help change the narrative of fatherlessness in our communities where it ain't cool. Like if we in the barbershop and we know homie ain't holding that down, you lame. You know, that's the tag on you now until you switch over and handle yours. You know what I mean? Because for me, when I grew up, and we probably around the same age, but I only knew 2 of my friends that knew their fathers, and we thought they was the weirdos. And when I think about that as a grown man, that's bizarre to me. You know what I mean?
To be honest, it's almost
bizarre.
psychotic.
So to your point, I'm proud of you and the others and of myself. Like we handling our biz with our kids, but also I see a lot of young brothers that might do something with themselves and they got some money and they just, you know, sliding it off that way. It's like, nah, you got to be active. You got to be present.
Well, and that's what I wanted to go back to. You said the catalyst for this moment and you becoming an author was a moment you being at home and tired, exhausted, wanting to have a drink, go to sleep. Your partner, the mom is saying, hey, he's still up. Why don't y'all go hang out because you had a long day? And you feeling frustrated like, yo, at least I'm here.
Right.
That at least I'm here. Talk about why that caught you so much.
Because where did that come from? You know, that came from me feeling like, you know, I'm present in my son's life. He has what I didn't, which is what he should have.
Should be good enough.
You know what I mean? And listen, we human. You know, we live and we learn. But for me, that hit me real hard. It made me want to explore where could a thought like that come from. And it made me realize like, man, this, you know, we grow up, I made something of myself and I thought I was at peace with certain things that maybe I wasn't at peace with. And in the process of writing this book, it was like cathartic in that way. I got to analyze certain things about myself that I hadn't really considered, you know, because, you know, when we come up, things are normalized. And we take trauma and we normalize it, we push it in the back, and to keep our sanity and move forward, we move forward. And we do that not only as individuals, but as a community. You know what I mean? Like I've heard you speak on, it's like, yeah, in the hood, we got PTSD. Like that's real. You know what I'm saying? It's not a euphemism. It's real. What people are dealing with is akin to that. So even in the issue of fatherlessness, you know, for me, it's just so personal. You know, I was just like, I got to explore this for myself. And also, you know, give the people my story, you know, tell my story. And because there's certain moments where looking on the outside, it's like I speak on in the book, you know, in the premiere of my first movie, Juice, you know, it's just like, wow, I'm living out a dream. This is incredible. And I'm having these thoughts, though, because that night I'm thinking like, damn, you know, it's like a victorious feeling. And at the same time, there's sort of a void there because I'm like, it would be cool if my pops was here to celebrate this with me, moms, you know, whatever their situation don't really matter. You know what I mean?
your dad, you didn't know who he was, or you never had a relationship?
Never had a relationship. Okay. I met my pops one time in my whole life.
And what was that? Where and what was that?
I met him when I was 12, and in that process, it was a 4-day span. I speak on this in the book in depth, but it was awkward, and at the same time, I'm still a kid who wants to, you know, I look just like him. You know what I mean? So you want to discover that. Who is this dude? And does he care about me? Does he want to know? And he was, I get, you know, he was a bundle of nerves too, and all of that. But you know, after that 4 days, that was it.
What about after your success? Like after your movie started coming out and you're everywhere. Right. Did you hear from the family, or did you hear from him at all?
Nah. I mean, I have a thing. It's in the book, but I'll tell you guys. Right after Juice had came out, and I got my first car and all of this, and I'm riding down Rogers Avenue, heading towards Bedford in Brooklyn, and I had a a young woman with me at the time. I roll up to the corner. The people that know that area, there's that famous mosque. And my father was Muslim. It's a red light. I'm at the light. I look. It's my pops standing on the corner, you know, selling incense and books. I'm like, yo, that's my father. The girl was bugging, like, because we just looked just alike. And she was like, yo, you're not going to say nothing? And I'm like, nah. And I just, you know, now in the book, I go in depth of what that moment really felt like to me. But just that's surreal.
Yeah.
That's like a movie, but that really happened, you know? So, but nah, I didn't have any contact with him. And later on, basically when I turned 21, I had reached out to him and tried to build a thing. You know, when I was 25, I tried to build a thing. When I was 29, I tried to build a thing. You know, on and on and on to this point. You know, he passed away last year. And
did you go to the funeral?
Nah. Nah, I didn't go to the funeral because I was working. But you know, I was at peace with it because I know that, you know, throughout my life, I have tried to reconcile or build something. But in any relationship, it's a dialogue. It can't be a monologue. And, you know, I feel like he never really participated.
In retrospect, have you been able to, I guess, ask questions, maybe ask your mother, ask other family members what it was about him having a son? Did he have other children?
He did have other kids.
And was he a part of their Was he a part of their life?
Nah.
So what was going on with him? His insecurity? Was he unhappy with who he was as a man? So coming around and seeing his kids, because, you know, a lot of times that's not talked about.
Right.
There's no outlet where men get to say, and socially we're not programmed as men to be able to be like, yo, I'm embarrassed about what I'm not. And seeing my children reminds me of what I can't give them. And instead of being the man that people want me to be, which is standing there and dealing with that pain of like, yo, I am not the person that I wish I was.
Right.
And I still got to take care of this child. Many men, and this is not just black men, this is men, run the other way. Right. Run from the woman who's putting pressure on them to be like, yo, you ain't shit, you need to be better, and they run from that. They run from looking themselves in the mirror. They run to drugs. They run to, you know, easier relationships with, you know, women that don't hold them as accountable. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. Were you able to?
Yeah, I was able to have those discussions with him directly. You know, they never got that deep. They would get to a point and then, you know, he would just shut off because, you know, I told him, like, you know, all is forgiven, you know, and it's a blessing that we both still here. So there's a meaning to all of this. All of this happened this way for a reason. And when I would question him about certain things, you know, he wouldn't just dive all the way. You know, he would stop at a certain point. And the thing is, and this is my opinion, he would stop at that point because it was still that way. You know, like I'm the oldest of all his children. And I even told him, I'm like, I was cool with being the sacrificial lamb if you would have been different with them, at least, you know, because then it's like, all right, you know.
You were made better because of.
Yeah. You made your mistake and then you redeemed it. But see, like with my little sister, who I met when the only time I met him, she was 6 weeks old. So I knew all that time I had a little sister out there, and then we reconnected when she was 11. I was 21. And so I've been in her life ever since, and it wasn't there for her. You know what I'm saying? So it just is what it is. And one of the themes I'm talking about in the book is the power of choice. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. The power of choice is always at our disposal. So everyone is imperfect. Right. But, you know, when you make mistakes, you stumble, you know, you can get back up. You can make the right choice.
Yeah, it's just, you know, and I've had this conversation. Laura's heard me talk about it before where, you know, as men, you know, we try to act tough, but we are some of the most sensitive, soft, emotional.
But it's important though, because even in healing, right? In like my personal relationship with my father, like throughout the abuse that I witnessed, it took me to watch him be honest about his personal abuse, for me to really understand and forgive. And that was part of my healing. And later on, I took years for him to admit that that was part of his healing too. So when I hear you talk about your relationship, and you know, all of us want to break the cycle, right? I need to be better than my family. I'm going to be the one that's going to change just like you did. I'm going to be there for my children. But at what point, you know, do you realize, like, okay, I can be honest with myself. Like, I can admit that it hurts, and I can admit that he was a human being who made wrong choices, that he's in pain also, whether they're able to communicate that to you or not.
And that's what you just said is beautiful, because that's what it comes down to. That healing, you know, you have to find a place where you're at peace with it. It is what it is. And also to what you said, when you talk about men, it's like, I was talking, doing another interview the other day, but I'm like, I think, you know, and this is with all respect, but like, you know, females, y'all get to talk about all y'all issues.
All the time.
Magazines,
TV
and that, right?
shows.
As men, especially as black men, it's just so much we don't talk about that we need to. You know what I'm saying? Like,
some of it is woven in culturally, right? Through the greater American masculine programming. Then you have the other layer of the black male ego, which is its own layer on top of the greater programming of masculinity. That doesn't, you got to be a certain type of man to be able to, yo, I cried yesterday. I cried on Father's Day. This hurts me. I don't like this. This is painful, right? You know, and by the way, even allowing like my own team, my own family, right? We spend a lot of time together, so I consider them family. The mornings I've come in and been like, yo, nobody cares what a man is going through, and it hurts sometimes. Nobody cares when you walk in the house and everybody's sitting around watching TV and the AC is on and everybody's giggling and laughing, and you just walked in and you ain't got nothing left. Nobody wants to hear that from you. You know what I'm saying? And that has a certain level of pain in there that you just have to suck it up. You don't get to go, yo, I'm tired, man. Like, woof. They want, no, Dad, well, let's go do this. Yo, you know, hey, yo, can you fix such and such and such? Yo, we ran out of boop-de-boo. Yo, did you pay for the whatever? And you're like, damn. You know what I'm saying? But those things as men, those would just be like, and everybody watching, it's like, yo, stop bitching, man up. That's what being, you know what I'm saying? But that being able to express that in a safe place, even though, yes, I'm going to still make sure everything's taken care of. Just being able to say, yo, I'm fucked up right now.
Get it off your chest. It's whether it's your homie, whether it's your girl, whether it's uncle, auntie, it gotta be someone that you can talk to. You know, get things out, because I see a lot of young people, man, they holding so much in, and then it comes out in the wrong ways. It comes out in their behavior. They find themselves in you know, making bad decisions in bad situations where a lot of things could have been avoided by just a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Because you go to Rikers or you go to prison, they having those conversations because they ain't got nothing but that time too, and they're unpacking everything that you just spoke about. So you out here in the free world, it's like, yo, or if you feel like you don't have that person in your personal circle, you know, seek the help. You know what I'm saying? But not to even go that deep with it, coming back to the fatherhood piece, it's like we need to be able to talk to each other as men. You know what I mean? So it's like when I see other men out there doing their thing, it's like, yo, salute. We know what time it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have the same days, and it's just like, just that salute is enough sometimes. And hopefully you have your, you know, your partner, your wifey, she's saluting you too. You know what I'm saying? Because that's really who, for me, I'm able to talk to wifey about anything. You know what I mean? Because we unpack these things together, because she has her own issues in terms of family and this and that. You know what I mean? And then it's like you discover, like, man, damn, I never thought about that, or, you know, I never knew you went through this and you took this that way, or, you know what I mean? And you just, that shared information, you find a peace with it, like, oh, okay, I'm not alone in the world. But, you know, it's that time for us, bro. Like, where we headed, I don't know where we're headed, but how we're getting there, it's like we can't take back the community without first taking back the families. And for us, people of color, yes, it all starts in slavery, and we can do the whole history thing, and I'm not being flippant about that. I'm saying we know that's the beginnings of it, but where we at now, it's like we can't hold on to that no more, man. We just can't hold on to those excuses no more. We got to hold each other accountable, and that's what I'm talking about, changing the narrative. Like, when you choose, and there's so many different scenarios that can happen, because I talk about this in the book too, like, it's whether you're married, whether you're just girlfriend and boyfriend, whether it was this, that, and then y'all got a divorce. It's just so many different scenarios that can happen, but at the end of the day,
but in all of that though is what you're talking about, whether it's holding on to the past or dealing with what you're going through right now, it all comes back to communication.
Right.
And it all comes back to acknowledging pain.
Yeah.
And accepting that there was pain, and the environment around you, the people around you, your community, acknowledging that something hurt you and helping you on to the next phase. Exactly. After you've accepted the pain and dealt with the pain with you and your dad. That's the healing process, right, that you talked about. And that's why, I don't want to get down that path of the whole slavery thing, but that's why that's still sensitive.
Right.
That's still sensitive is because the greater community has not all accepted the pain that people felt. So that proper healing hasn't taken place, so it's still sensitive. Yeah, because it's not healed. Right, the wound's not healed.
But could it ever be healed? Could something that heinous ever be healed?
I think there could be greater dialogue about the true pain and the depths of the pain. It could be a more mainstream conversation. I don't know if you ever heal it, but at least acknowledgement and acceptance that hurts. It still hurts.
Yeah, the deeper understanding.
You know what I'm saying? It still hurts. I think in some of that helps you get beyond. It's kind of like when somebody close to you passes, a parent passes, that you love, somebody really close to you. I've lost both of my parents. You never it's never gone. Right? That's your mom, that's your dad. Right. But it's like, I compare it to lifting weights. That first day you try to lift it, it's too heavy. But you gotta lift it again tomorrow. Right. And you're gonna lift it the next day. And each day, it feels like it gets lighter. Still the same weight. You just get accustomed to lifting it up. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's part of the process is if you're not dealing with lifting it up, it's always gonna be painful and heavy. So you gotta walk over there and deal with it. But it's gonna be the same weight.
Right. That's deep. That's deep because going back to what you said, that slavery piece being in the mainstream conversation, it's not in the mainstream, but those underneath that, those conversations are being had. Right. And I think that's why, on our end, there's so much friction out there right now because we're not having it. You know what I mean? Like when we went to school.
No, y'all don't want to have it with us. Y'all don't want to talk to us. When I say y'all, I mean those white people and racists and white supremacists and red state Americans, et cetera, that want to go, just get over it. Y'all don't want to talk about open dialogue about how painful it is.
Acknowledgement. Like when they was taking down all those statues and stuff like that, like this the acknowledgement. But what I'm saying is so let me sidebar. You talking about racists and all of that, like it's crazy because what I'm seeing now to me, it's like, are they really about that life? You know what I'm saying? Because when I was a kid and, you watching TV or you seeing things in the world, like the racist was really racist. They didn't care. Right. It's like these cats now, some of them are, but some of them, a lot of the young ones are trendy. Posturing.
They're trendy.
You know what I mean?
Trendy racist.
Like when they had the whole tiki thing, that happened, then police is like, yo, we looking for you. Then the dude is on there crying.
Right.
It's like, really? Right. But to say like the conversations are happening because the information is there. What's ill is like young people now, like first of all, they had to teach Black history because it wasn't taught.
And their version of it though, whatever watered down version.
But now in the information age, these kids know what time it is. If they seek that information, they get it. So it was interesting to see this last Thanksgiving that passed. How young people was like, nah, that don't represent this. It represents that. And to me, that was powerful to see because it's like, yo, they really on the truth of things. So what's that going to look like 25 years from now? You know what I mean? Going back to, having the conversation, acknowledging our pain as a people. You know what I mean? And that's the only way we can move forward. That's why for me, it's like beyond just being an optimist, as crazy as things seem right now, it needs to happen. It needs to happen because when Obama was in office, a lot of people went to sleep. A lot of liberal white people was like, oh, no, we good. And we was like, nah, we're not good.
Racism's over.
And the youth thought it was all good. They never experienced anything else. So they heard about them. Maybe their parents talking about racism and riots and why this is happening. But a lot of people, like even when we travel, we've spoken about it. Most young people in other countries are very in tune with what's happening with their governments, in their communities. Right. Well, we were asleep for a while.
Yeah, but that's the American way. You know what I mean? That's how they control the people. But I'm just saying, now that this stuff is out and you see what time it is, so no matter what your belief or whatever, you see exactly what time it is. Now, moving forward, we can have a real conversation, you know, about, okay, how do we work together? Because the thing that I don't like about it is, like, we can have differences, but there was a time we could come to the table, air out our differences, and try to find a common ground, because we live here together. We got to work here together. We got to eat, sleep, pray, whatever, together. We all Americans. So at the end of the day, it's like, it's stupid. Like, we,
well,
you know what I mean?
I think the thing that's changed, the dramatic shift, is the browning or tanning or whatever you want to call it of America.
It's inevitable.
We know this, but that's what it has changed the tone. The tone is different now, because it's not just like come together and figure out a solution.
Right.
Because what many racists and white supremacists are afraid of is the fact that in 20, 30, 50, there will be more people who don't look like them than do. And what is their premeditated, pre-planned response to that, to slow that or make that something else? Because they feel like that's the ultimate death of their ideals and really their identity, because the blue-eyed, blonde hair thing is an identity thing to them. It's a state of mind, right? So that's why coming to the table isn't as easy anymore, because that line is being drawn now, right? Like these other, and I know people are like, nah, that ain't it.
That's you hitting the nail on the head with that.
Right? That's why it's even more intense now.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it's inevitable. You know, it's inevitable with, you have, the reality is, you know, you have a land where there were people of color, indigenous people, other people came, stole that land, exterminated them, brought brown people here to build the country, and then you state the country that, yo, we accept everybody. So most of the world is brown. What do you think is gonna happen? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not rocket science, but I'm not simplifying.
People are in denial.
Yeah, but
it's painful.
At the end of the day, we're all human beings. It's all about love. You know, everyone has a family, and so there's room for everybody. You know, we have to be inclusive because everybody is here. You know what I mean? It's like, even with, you know, not to get into religion or whatever, but like, it's meant for there to be different belief systems, because everybody's not the same color or speaks the same language. So everybody's going to interpret things differently. That's why those things exist. And when it comes to us, all we got to do is keep pushing. We got to unify and keep pushing, because we're supposed to be. You know what I mean? I feel like, and obviously I feel like that because I'm black, but I'm like, only we could have survived what we've been through and still be here prospering. That's amazing. And that's indicative of the power, of the spiritual power that is just innately in black and brown people. You feel what I'm saying? So, but all of this stuff, I'm like, I'm unhappy that it's happening, but the rational part of me is like, yeah, this needs to happen. So,
well, and I think the awakening is your true power is not something that can be controlled by a bank or a retail store.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Your true power is embedded in you being indigenous to the earth and your melanin. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that can't be controlled by governments.
Right.
And so when they devalue something they can't control, that's how they really get power over you. And that's why the celebration of melanin and celebration of indigenous and blackness is a powerful thing, is because that's the one thing that you can't necessarily control in an institution, or you can only control that if you allow them to take over your mind and your spirituality.
Right, right. And the potential that we have is that we're all human beings. So essentially, like, calling you my brother because we from the same tribe, right? But essentially, all the tribes are part of a bigger tribe. Right. You know what I mean?
The human tribe.
At the end of the day,
yeah,
so when we have that talk about coming to the table and, hey, you know, why do you feel this way, or why do you see this, or, you know, people have to experience things. The people have, hey, you know, if you white out there and you know, if you come from a household where you're being indoctrinated with certain things, or, you know, you can go out and explore for yourself and you see. And it's the same thing as, you know, with us. You know, I know black people that they don't have no white friends, or they never seen this and they never seen that.
Or never been here, never been there.
Yeah, and they like, yo, is it really? And I'm like, yo, go see. Like, you know what I'm saying? Hop on it. I know cats from Brooklyn and never been in the city.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, are you kidding me? Like, it's right there. And you go see and you go experience, and people, it's just so deep, because everyone's experience is so mixed right now. You know, everyone's experience is so mixed. It's people, like when dude got elected, I know damn near as many white people was heads exploded as black people. And the rifts that it caused in families, like, yo, your sister voted for this, or my uncle voted, and I never knew that they So now the dialogue, and this is why I'm saying it needed to happen, because now even people like that are having real dialogues, like not superficial. It's like, you know what I mean?
No, it is the current president and the current state of affairs in a generation could be a blessing. You know, right now it's very painful and sad.
It certainly is painful.
You know what I mean? But that's, you know,
but
like I said, that's like lifting up that weight.
Yeah, and we always talk about the silver lining that we all see is that people are, first of all, you see that there's more racists out there. You see what's happening, but just people wanted to be educated and more involved, especially our youth.
Exactly.
They're definitely stepping up. They're way more inspired than I've seen them in a very long time.
Yeah, and the key word is the awakening, right? It's the awakening. To me, that's really what's going on all sides of the fence. You know what I mean? And your belief is relative to your experience. But on all sides of the fence, the awakening is happening, and it's inevitable. And I'm just excited about the future, you know, for younger kids, because they coming up like, yo, this ain't cool.
And,
you know what I mean?
You also see a reprioritization of ideals and what's important and value.
Exactly.
Omar Epps, From Fatherless to Fatherhood, the book. Listen, we could have went through the Omar Epps movie classics, but everybody loves you, man.
Thank you,
we appreciate the work you've done on the screen, and now the stuff we're hearing about you doing off the screen too.
Absolutely. Man. I appreciate y'all, man.
Of course, man. Thank you.
Thank you.